Welcome back to Comic Book History. This is episode number 18. Yes, 18. This with the new series of Defenders coming up, with the Netflix show coming in August, and of course the new series Brahma Bendis. Why not talk about where the Defenders came from? There have been several different versions of the Defenders. The most prominent version and the most known one is the sort of non-team in a way. Now, it made first appearance in Marvel Fantasy #1. That's when they made the first appearance. But the creator, Roy Thomas, he's one of the creators, decided to plant seeds of this particular series in a few different books that he was doing at that point. First was in the final issue of Doctor Strange Volume 1. Now, the issue number itself is issue number 183. The series had continued from the series Strange Tales, the series that Doctor Strange himself made his debut in issue 110. Now, if you read this issue in the Essential Defenders trade, or in the Marvel Masterworks first volume, you're probably wondering, why the heck is Doctor Strange wearing a mask? There is a very simple answer for that. Because Roy Thomas wanted to try something different, and apparently it didn't work out too well, so apparently he adapted Stephen Saunders. Yeah, basically the group was created by not only Roy Thomas, but also artist Ross Audru. So it started in Doctor Strange 183, which came out in November of 1989, and then continued a few months later in February of 1970 in Submariner number 22, another book written by Roy Thomas, and finally concluded with Incredible Hulk 126. This was basically a three-parter, which also wrapped up loose ends from the Doctor Strange comic book, because the title had probably canceled due to low sales. So, and also with 126, Doctor Strange retired, and stayed retired for about 2 years. Actually, it was more like a year. Yeah, for a little over a year, he was gone. But before he made his epic return, there was a two-parter from Submariner, which came out about 2 years after, at least a little over a year, maybe, I think it was. Yeah, it was like a little over a year, at least a year after issue 22 came out, a two-parter which featured the Submariner, the Incredible Hulk, and the Silver Surfer, who called himself the Titanic 3. Pretty much they came together to stop some weather device, free an island from a dictatorship, and got to a brief scuffle with the Avengers. Yes. And then, of course, they properly came together in Marvel Feature number 1, which, by the way, there's a backup feature in the book that does explain how Doctor Strange came back, how he came out of retirement. And with that particular issue, they came together. Now, I should point out, though, that founding members of the team who actually were most prominent, there were 4 people who put together the Defenders. 4 people. Not 5, 4. And it's all guys. The team was made up of Dr. Stephen Strange, Namor the Submariner, the King of Atlantis, the Incredible Hulk, and the Silver Surfer. Despite the fact the Silver Surfer himself didn't do very much in the actual original story. Yeah, he did almost jack frickin' squat. And basically it was about this one guy who wanted to blow up the planet, and simply put, they actually kind of stopped it, but they actually sort of delayed it. Of course, this little plot thread was not resolved until issue 4 of the actual ongoing series. But since the issue did so well, they decided to continue for another couple issues, of issues 2 and 3, and then eventually they got a 152-issue ongoing series, 5 giant-sized books, and 1 annual. Now, there have been several different writers this book. Aside from Roy Thomas, you also have Steve Englehart, who did the Avengers War. You also have Steve Gerber. Let's see, who else? There's also David Anthony Kraft, Stephen Grant, Jan DeMatteis, Mark Greenwald, and Peter Giles. Yeah, Peter Giles was the last writer of the series before it was abruptly ended. The series is also noteworthy. Oh yeah, and Lee Wein, co-creator Swamp Thing, basically was known for writing the series. During the course of the series' first couple years, they introduced 2 prominent things to the Marvel Universe. One was Alpha, the Ultimate Mutant. Yeah, I review the 2-parter on my X-Men Classics. And second, in issue 17 of the series, despite the fact they didn't appear on the cover because it featured Luke Cage, and by the way, this 3-part was actually mentioned Luke Cage Hero for Hire book, the first appearance of recurring Thor villains, the Wrecking Crew. Now, the Wrecker himself made his debut in the pages of Thor. The other three members did not. Yeah, this is something that's kind of confusing. It's one of those strange things where you have like a certain character who's noteworthy villain who's known to be associated with this particular character, and yet they made a debut in a completely different comic book. There are several examples of this. The Kingpin, commonly confused as being just a Daredevil villain, despite the fact he's also an enemy of Spider-Man, the Punisher, Captain America, and he's also appeared in Thor. Yep. The Parasite, commonly a Superman villain, but the first and third one did make a debut in the pages of a Superman comic. The second one did not. The second one started as a Firestorm villain, which I'll get to him in another episode. Let's see. Trying to think. Defenders also fought during the course of the first year of the book. They fought the Avengers in it's commonly considered to be the first ever Marvel comic book crossover between. It was a crossover between the Avengers and the Defenders. Now, this whole scuffle started over the course of a device from pages of Fantastic Four, called the Evil Eye. And the Avengers and Defenders fought each other, and the issues themselves were pretty much, they had chapters in the book, and it was a pretty epic event. I gotta praise Echo Hart for doing a great job with this event, who's actually writing Avengers as well at this point. So, they even, at the end of the story, in the conclusion, which is also collected in both the, I think it's the first volume of Essential Defenders, and I think it's Essential Avengers Volume 6. Excuse me. Where they collected the epilogue issue, which is simply issue 12, where the Defenders, now this whole thing kind of started, the reason why they wanted the Evil Eye is because prior to this, the Black Knight himself, Dane Whitman, showed up in the book with Thor villains, the Enchantress and the Executioner, and it's referenced by Hulk, who has actually fought the Executioner before. The last time he fought him, he didn't have an axe with him. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Now, when you think of the Executioner now, especially the version who show up in the Thor Ragnarok trailer, he's firing machine guns off. No joke, that's seriously what he's doing. Now, in the comic originally, he carried a big battle axe. That's how he originally was. And there's a bunch of really good stories when it comes to Defenders, and it's such an underrated team. Because when you think of Marvel groups, who's the first three groups you think of? The Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men. Yeah, these three groups you think of first. Now, the group themselves have many different members, aside from the original founding. They also added Clea not long after this started. Yes, they did. Yeah, they added Clea right with the second appearance of them. They also added, Silver Surfer kind of to be a founding member of the team. That's why I think he joined issue 2. You also have Valkyrie, Hawkeye, Nighthawk, who joined us to play for the Submariner, who had quit in issue 14 due to the fact that he had been drawn into, and also in this particular two-parter, the Defenders fought the Squadron Supreme and the strange creature called Nebula, who later came back later. They also had people like Power Man, who briefly joined the team. He's popped around again. Son of Satan, who was a regular member of the team. Hank Pym, Red Guardian, Hellcat, Devil Slayer. They even had this strange thing where it was the Defenders for a day, which those people consisted of Black Goliath, Captain Marvel, Captain Ultra, Falcon, Havoc, Hercules, Iron Fist, Jack of Hearts, Marman, Nova, Paladin, Polaris, the Prowler. This is, of course, Hobby Brown Prowler. Stingray, Tyjack, the Leopard Lord, Torpedo, and White Tiger. It was also this three-parter. This took up 3 issues of the series. Yeah, it was a weird concept, and it was also Defenders. There was also a rival group of villains who took them on. And you also had people who joined the group basically afterwards. The last people who joined the official group before they changed the name of the group, New Defenders, was Gargoyle, the Beast, and Overmind. Yeah. So you had a lot of really good stories during this period of time. Excuse me. Now, in the Essential Defenders series, they collected pretty much almost the entire run. Now, there was one founding member of the Defenders who actually was very prominent in the first 124 issues, who actually appeared all first 124 issues, and that was the Hulk. Of course, Silver Surfer and Doctor Strange, Submariner left after issue 14, though they did have the second giant-sized Defenders that took place right after that, which also featured Daredevil. Yep. Let me think. They also fought Sons of the Serpent, who all show up in the pages of Daredevil during Mark Waid's run. Yeah, Doctor Strange actually left around issue 60 and popped up now and again. He basically said I was leader and handed up a job to Nighthawk. Yeah, and according to the Submariner, the group didn't actually act like an official group. They basically were just people who just cobbled together, but the group operated really well, despite that. Now the reason why the name was changed to New Defenders, because according to what I just read, Jay Lamanius was suffering a burnout, so he wanted to change the concept of the series. So he had it where Beast, Gargoyle, and Valkyrie, three people from the previous incarnation of Defenders, stayed on, with the inclusion of people like Moondragon. Let's see who else joined. You also had Iceman, Angel. Yeah, these people basically stayed on. They also had a character called Cloud briefly join the group. They even had a character called Manslayer unofficially join the group. Let's see. Yeah, and this group existed for a little over 2 years before the series was abruptly canceled with issue 152. I should point out though that issues 145, 146 featured featured the brief return of Johnny Blaze, first time since the end of his ongoing series, issue 81. Before he made his epic return in the 1990s in the Howard Mankey Ghost Rider Volume 3 run, which, by the way, it's awesome. I highly recommend it. And they operated quite differently. Now, the original team originally operated out of the Sanctum Sanctorum, basically Doctor Strange's mansion. That's what they operated originally. And then, during the course of not long after Nighthawk joined the team, he bought a writing academy to become a sort of a place to store the Black Knight's flying horse. Yes, not kidding. And also he had got his financier got involved with the Sons of the Serpent, a racist group, mind you. Yeah, a group of racists. I'm not kidding. And of course the group also appeared in Marvel Team-Up several times. Even teamed with Captain America briefly. Then after a while they stopped operating at the Sanctum Sanctorum, and they moved into the Writing Academy, which that was their base operations up until the that original incarnation disbanded. They were replaced with New Defenders. Also, not long after issue 100, Nighthawk fell into a coma and stayed in the coma into the 1990s. When Beast took over leadership of the team, he got the team a government clearance, and they operated out of a separate mansion called Defenders Mansion, which was a mansion owned by Angel. And now, how Angel and Iceman got to the group, originally they were part of the X-Men, but they had joined up with the Champions, and then Beast recruited them to the group after the series was canceled. Of course, the group had already disbanded, and the group existed for a little over 2 years, fighting various things until they fought the Circle of Dragon, the Secret Circle of the Dragon. I think that's what they called them. Let's see if I can get this work properly. Yeah, it's called the Dragons. It's called Dragon of the Moon. And most of these, basically the characters of Andromeda, who is the daughter of, she's the daughter of, Krang, I think his name. I believe she's a Submariner villain, where Armada, Gargoyle, Interloper, Manslayer, Moondragon, and Valkyrie were killed. Basically, you got Nuclear forms and Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme. Of course, the group also appeared in the pages of Secret Solo Avengers for the Moondragon feature, but the group came back in a couple issues of Doctor Strange. Simply put, that they were put there just to tie up loose ends from the series. But apparently, Marvel couldn't let the concept of the group go. Now, the reason why the group series got canceled, it was not due to low sales. It got canceled long after an event called Secret Wars 2, which caused a lot of titles to be canceled. And the reason why it was canceled, so it could make room for a failed imprint called New Universe. An imprint that lasted for at least a year or two before it got canned. And apparently the thing got so screwed up. Now this apparently New Universe was actually Jim Shooter's idea. No joke. If you read up basically of how New Universe worked, basically the person who came up with the concept of this was Jim Shooter, even though he never got a chance to work on the books. And almost every book except for 2 managed to last for about 12 issues before it got canceled. A couple of them even got annuals. Excuse me. But after the series got canceled, the group did come back a couple times. The original group basically came back in an event called Return of Defenders, which basically involved the 4 annuals for the 4 founding members of Defenders: Silver Surfer, the Incredible Hulk, Namor the Submariner, which that was the name of the series, and Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme. They also, they came back in that because originally there was a curse that if they stayed together, they would be like doing crazy things. So they disbanded, and that's how New Defenders came up with. But they couldn't let the whole concept Defenders go, so they kind of reformatted them, sort of rebooted them with the Secret Defenders series, which is simply put, Doctor Strange recruiting people at random for various missions and then have the memories wiped to the thing. No joke, that was the concept of the series, with the exception of a few issues which focused on Thanos and his group of Defenders, which lasted for 3 issues, which actually accomplished the mission, and then Thanos disbanded the group. Now, the group made a appearance in the pages of Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme issue 50. That's where the appearance. They also appeared in the Fantastic Four, which the original group consisted of Doctor Strange, the Hulk, Ghost Rider, and Silver Surfer. They had other people, various people joined the group over the course of this 2-year experiment. You had Spider-Man, Wolverine, Darkhawk, Nomad, this was Jack Monroe, Nomad, who was also the 4th person who named Bucky, Julie Carpenter, Spider-Woman, Nembertita, Sleepwalker, Captain America, Scarlet Witch, Thunderstrike, this is the original one, War Machine, Northstar, Nova. There was the Thanos group, which consisted of himself, Gladiator, Nitro, Rhino, Super Skrull, and Titanium Man. Now, when Doctor Doom took over with issue 15, now Doctor Strange was only in the group with the first 12 issues, and he was handed off to handle position. Doctor Doom became more of a regular group, which consisted of Luke Cage, Deadpool, surprisingly, Sculpture, Clavadier, Hank Pym, Iron Fist, Archangel, Iceman, U.S. Agent, Dagger, the Michael Collins Deathlock, and Drax Destroyer. And then, of course, the group basically, series ended issue 22, possibly the low sales. I should point out, though, the original writer of the series was Roy Thomas, the co-creator of the Defenders. And I should point out, though, that the 2 issues that were Silver Surfer in the series and teamed up with War Machine and Thunderstrike had terrible artwork. No joke. And Linkara basically did a 2-parter where he reviewed these 2 issues. Yeah, so the series started with very good artwork, and then the artwork got really bad after that. That had some really good hit and miss issues. And the group came back in the early 2000s with 2001, which they pretty much reformed the group. The original group, the founding Disincarnate, which only existed for 12 issues. Yeah, 2001 to 2003 Disincarnation existed for, which the group consisted of Doctor Strange, the Hulk, Submariner, Silver Surfer, Hellcat, and Nighthawk. All formed issue 1, and of course later on they added Valkyrie and Raven. Then the original 4 became the Order, became super villains, tried to take over the planet, which failed, by the way. And they recruited better people to fight against the Order, which was recruited by Defenders, which consisted at that point of Hellcat, Nighthawk, and Valkyrie, recruited Clea, Nembertita, She-Hulk, and Arcania. Yeah, and then of course after the Order was defeated, pretty much everything went right away. And I should point out that the series was actually drawn by the creator of Savage Dragon, Eric Larson. He drew pretty much the whole series himself. I think he also co-wrote it. It's actually a pretty dang good comic book. Then he had The Last Defenders, which was a mini-series, which they only had not many people join the group. The group was formed by Nighthawk, of all things, and they operated in New Jersey. No joke, they operated in New Jersey. And here are the people who formed the group with him. Blazing Skull, who is a ripoff of the Ghost Rider. Yeah, he's kind of mistaken for Ghost Rider. Of the X-Men, and She-Hulk. Colossus the next issue, kind of like the Hulk did with the Avengers. They also recruited Alice, Jota, Padalin, Krang, Son of Satan, and the guy who would basically succeed, what's his name? Kyle Raymond Nighthawk, Jacqueline Pennyworth, who was actually the son of his former financier. Now, the team were disbanded by Tony Stark due to incompetence. And then pretty much the group operated at the initiative for a while. The group was disbanded. And of course, the group would come back for the Avengers miniseries for some reason because, well, the writer was tired of loose ends from other books he wrote, like Dark Reign Zodiac and Dark Reign, Young Sisters, I think it was, yes. The group finally came back together thanks to Fear Itself, The Deep, which had 3 of the 4 founding members of the team, Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer, and Submariner, with recruiting Lyra, who was part of the Avengers Academy, and Lola, Lo-A, I think that's how you pronounce her name. Yeah, she also later became a reoccurring supporting character of Namor in his spin-off book, Namor the First Mutant. Good series. Too bad it got canceled 11 issues. And after that, we had the Matt Fraction run of Defenders, which basically formed after Fear. I think it formed just after Fear itself. It was a quick 12-issue series that pretty much had to defend this machine that Doctor Strange found. Now, the Hulk was going to join the group, but he offered his wife, who was Red She-Hulk. So the 3 of the 4 founding members, Doctor Strange, Namor, and Silver Surfer again, with Red Hulk and Iron Fist. Yeah, Iron Fist. And in issue 8, they recruited the Black Cat. This is before Dan Slott turned into a villain. And then, for the last 3 issues of the series, they recruited Scott Lang, a guy who just been resurrected in the Avengers Crusade series. Now, was the series bad? No, it wasn't. It was actually really damn good. I believe Terry Dodson did the covers for this series. It was really, really good. I highly recommend it. It is in trade, by the way. A majority of these books trade. And that incarnation, and they had the Fearless Defenders. No, seriously, there was a group called the Fearless Defenders. Let's see here. Was this incarnation entirely made up of women? Yep, it was written by Cullen Bunn, and the book was canceled after only 12 issues. What I have heard, though, the reason why it was canceled because it actually sold less than what Marvel predicted it would be. And the group was formed by Valkyrie, Knight, and a new character Cullen Bunn created, Annabelle Riggs, which the first issue became infamous by having Annabelle Riggs make out with Valkyrie in the very first issue. And also people like Danny Moonstar, Clea, the female Nova joined the team. Now you're all thinking, man, this sounds like an awesome team. It kind of does. Too bad it was canceled, the 12 issues. Oh, they also recruited a human named Rukia, I think his name is. Yeah, and about halfway through the series, Annabelle died, was killed when Valkyrie went on a rampage for some strange reason. I have no idea why. She went on a rampage. Did. Yeah, this title came after it was called the Valkyr. Let's see. There was also a character called Warrior Woman, who was essentially put is Marvel version of Hippolyta. Yeah, essentially who she is. She's Hippolyta. Let's see. Did I forget anybody else who joined us in Incarnate? They also had Alyssa Bloodstone, Ren Kimura, who's actually a new Inhuman who joined during the Infinity tie-in. And the last issue they had the female writer, a female version of Noah Frankie Way. Yeah, it was a pretty good incarnation of group. Yeah, it was. And also they had every single issue start off with Valkyrie and Misty Knight, which simply recapping the issue. It was so funny. And it was such a great book. I really enjoyed it. This is actually my first exposure to Cullen Bunn. It was actually the first book I actually read he wrote. They even had one issue where they had Flash Thompson Venom, X-Men, Cannonball, Doctor Strange, and Hercules guest star for an issue where they teamed up with the Valkyr, basically the female defenders, take on some monsters. It was a pretty fun issue. I highly recommend checking out the trades for this thing because, well, the series is no longer being published because Marvel canceled it after 12 issues. Don't know why. Just that they did. And that was the last known incarnation of Defenders. Though they did pop up a few other times. They popped up in Hulk in 2009 for a 3-parter called The Offenders, where Hulk recruited Time Dispatch versions of 3 other founding members of Defenders to take on Hulk's Offenders, which was consisted of not only Red Hulk, but also, get this, Baron Mordo, Tiger Shark, and Terrax the Tamer. No joke, that was the Offenders. It was a pretty interesting little 3-parter, which basically had Defender Sorlo die, but the Red Hulk killed the Grand Master, and Collector was not very happy with that, so excuse me, he brought back the Defenders and basically gave Hulk back Jorilla's body. Yeah, that was the whole point of his get back, was to resurrect Jorilla and whoever else. It was a fun little 3-parter, but that was more like one-off incarnation of the group. But yeah, so I highly recommend trying to find issues of Defenders. I should point out, though, not the entire series is in trade. Also, there was one other volume done by the creators of the JLI, Keith Giffen, Jane DeMatteis, who also was one of the writers of the original Defenders series, along with Ken McGuire. Yeah, these three decided to team up to have the original 4 with Clea, who take on Dormammu, and that was the last known official time that the original group actually existed, up until they came back in 2011. Yep. And that miniseries is in trade. Yeah, it's a quick 5-issue limited series, and that's it. It's pretty fun too. Now, volumes 3 and 4 are in trade. The Fearless Defenders series is in trade, and I know Last Defenders is in trade as well. But in the case of the first volume, most of it is in trade, but not the entire thing. The Essential Defender series, which I own like 3 volumes of it, that apparently stopped after volume 6, because apparently 3 years ago Marvel think, oh, let's just stop the Essential series and replace it with Marvel Epic Collection. And there's been 1 volume published, and it's Six-Figure Hand, and it's a storyline which collects issues written by Jane DeMatteis. No joke. There's been like one-off trade that collects the first 6 issues of New Defenders, and that's really it. There's not many trades. I do know that the series is coming back in June, but I kind of wanted to talk about the original, the other Defenders group. There's been several different ones. Now, in case some of you ask, has Secret Defenders been collecting the trade? Let me take a look here. If I get the mouse to move. Let me think here. I think they have been. I have to look it up. I think they have. So, don't quote me on that. I think they have been collected. Let's see if I can get this work properly. I think they have been. I think it has been put into trade. I don't know, but I think it's mainly just as the Thanos issues have been collected. But Marvel, please collect more issues of Defenders in trade. Like, I don't know, do more epic collections stuff like that, because this is a fun series. I highly recommend trying to find it online. If you can't find the individual issues, which most of them are pretty hard to find, especially as some of the early issues come far back as the early 1970s. Okay, so overall, the series published, like, if you can look at the combined first 4 volumes, that is, let's see, 64 plus 5 is 69, plus 12, that's 181 issues overall. Plus, of course, you also got the Order, which, for some strange reason, if you look at the covers, they have dual numbering. They continue numbering from Defenders Volume 2 for some reason. I have no idea why. Fearless Defenders has nothing to do with the original Defenders, but I said I throw it in because it's a great group. Plus, also the covers were fantastic. Like there's one cover which basically has kind of like one of those like cutout things with like paper dolls, like what could Valkyrie wear? Yeah, and I should point out though, since that series ended, Valkyrie has done almost nothing since the series ended, except for like one brief appearance in Avengers World. Miss Naga moved over to the. She's currently in Captain America Sam Wilson. But what about everybody else? Daniel Moonstar made a recent appearance in the pages of the last issue of New Avengers. Annabelle Riggs has not been seen again. She's completely disappeared from the comics, along with New Inhuman they put in the series. Alyssa Bloodstone is currently in the Monsters Unleashed ongoing series. Clea made a recent appearance in Doctor Strange Annual by the awesome duo of in the awesome Jason Aaron Doctor Strange series. But yeah, that's really it. That's all I gotta say about the Defenders. So I highly recommend checking out the Defenders. Find any incarnation. It's really, really. I would check out the original incarnation first, just to get a good understanding what the Defenders are, and just so you have a good idea exactly what you're in for when you come to the Defenders series. Despite the fact the series is not gonna feature any of the Defenders. And here's the weird thing: Marvel owns the rights officially to about 3 of them. They own the rights to Doctor Strange, the Hulk, and as far as I know, the Submariner. Despite the fact they have made movies about him. The only one they don't own rights to is the Silver Surfer, so they can't do the original one on screen yet. I hope they do in the near future, because Fox is doing nothing with the Silver Surfer. As a matter of fact, there has been nothing with the Silver Surfer at all, because what happened to last film, Fantastic Four film, which bombed hard, only made $30 million. No joke. If you look it up, it barely made like $30-40 million against like I think it was like $120 million budget. It bombed hard because the movie I heard was really, really bad. So, pray, hope Marvel actually confirms they have the rights to Fantastic Four. I've heard unofficial rumors for unofficially that they do have the rights to Fantastic Four, but they haven't said anything about it yet. So yeah. So that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, which I plan to talk about Firestorm. Yep. The character's on Legends of Tomorrow. Why not talk about him? Okay. Until then, I will see you there. Bye.